When you're approaching your destination, an early decision you'll need to make is which instrument approach will I fly? The earlier you figure that out, the sooner you can start self-briefing the approach and get set up to fly it safely. You may be asking, why is this an issue now? Didn't I figure out which approach to use in my pre-flight planning when I got the weather forecast for my destination? Well, the actual weather conditions when you arrive could be significantly different from the forecast, and that may mean you'll have to fly a different approach than you had planned. If there's a control tower at your destination airport, the decision on which approach to fly will usually be made by the tower, based on the weather and their traffic flow. The ATIS will tell you what approach is in use. Now, if you want to fly a different instrument approach because of a navigation equipment limitation in your airplane, or your judgment about the safety of shooting one approach versus another, or maybe just for the practice, go ahead and ask the controller for that different approach. Controllers are pretty good about giving you what you want, unless it conflicts with other IFR traffic. But what if there's no tower at your destination airport? Then you'll need to pick the approach and tell the controller which one you'll be using. How do you make that decision? First, ask yourself which approaches you're able to fly. The navigation equipment required for the approach and the equipment you have installed in your airplane will answer that for you. Second, figure out which approach or approaches have low enough minimums to get you in, based on the reported weather at your destination. Generally speaking, an ILS will have the lowest weather minimums, and an NDB approach will have the highest. Third, consider which approaches have you making an approach into the wind instead of downwind.
Information Juliet 0151 Zulu. Wind 250 at 5. Visibility 10. Ceiling 1.
A VOR approach that gets you to the airport and lets you land into the wind may be a better choice than an ILS approach with a downwind landing, or a circle to land with low ceiling or visibility. Fourth, after taking everything else into consideration, you may want to pick an approach that ties efficiently into the direction you're coming from and the route you're already flying. And last, see if any particular approach makes more sense based on what other traffic is doing. So when do you make this final choice of approach? Well, you want to do it while you're still some distance out from your destination. Usually, the closer you get to the airport, the busier you get. So listen to the actual weather at your destination as soon as you can hear it, either from the ATIS or an ASOS or AWOS. If your destination doesn't report weather conditions, ATC can give you the weather at the nearest reporting station. Then, check to see if the visibility and ceiling are above the minimums for the approach. If the ceiling or visibility is below minimums or barely above, you might want to consider heading for your alternate airport now rather than later. The best time to make a decision about diverting to your alternate is early on, when you're not low on fuel. It's a whole lot easier to write down the clearance to your alternate if you're not hyperventilating. Once you've picked the approach you want to fly, let the controller know your intentions. And then, get ready to do a thorough self-briefing on the approach, so everything will be familiar to you as you fly the approach itself. With this advanced planning, you'll have picked the approach that works best for you, and you'll be way ahead of the game when it comes time to start that approach.